If there is a message for us today, I believe it is to learn to live from our heart in love. These short lessons, hopefully, will help to inspire you to live with purpose, love passionately, and inspire others. We are the change agent our world needs. I'm Helen Taves. Step into the river today with me to explore the mysteries of God. They are not hidden from us, but for us to discover. Pardon. All right. Well, this is actually wonderful. Thank you all for joining in. Like I said, we were under tornado watch, and I was going to move into another room, but the skies have cleared, and so. But if something happens again, I will move. I'll give the meeting over to Kathy, but I think we're good. I think we're good. I just want to be forewarned is forearmed. Wow. Well, let's just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and just our rest is in Him. Our rest is in the Lord. Our rest is in our beautiful Father. We thank you, Father. Thank you that even though we are separated by miles, there is no separation. What a gift. And Lord, thank you that we can assemble in you, in your heart, and you in us. Lord, as this is becoming more and more and more our reality, we're so grateful for what you're doing in us and through us, among us. And Lord, what a delight. What a delight. Thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing. Lord, we bless you, and we are so grateful. I thank you. All right. Well, as I was saying a little bit as we were in the chat time, that now it was Linda that brought up Linda, you were listening to somebody saying, or Justin Abram, that was it, that he used the frame phasing dimensions, kind of like that, phasing dimensions. Don't know what it means, to be honest. Like, it's sort of one of those, I don't know, but I just like it. I think it's really kind of saying something. So I'm going to spend some time, because I think there's real oil on that there is something that's going on among us and with us and through us. And we're going to start off this week with Eddie. He had just the goofiest. Hi, Eddie, you have to take your mute thing off. He just had the oddest thing happen, and maybe it's a phasing dimension. It certainly was a dimensional happening, and so I just asked if he would share it. I'm going to send over to you, Eddie.
Okay. Well, last week on Sunday, Helen and I decided to go to work all day Monday at our cottage at Winnipeg Beach, and so she told me we were just going to get up and go, and I don't know exactly what that means. So it could be 6 o'clock or it could be 9 o'clock, and so I put my bank card and the check that I got from the university. I folded the check twice, put them both in my back pocket so I could run into the bank and get a printout. But as it was, we left early in separate vehicles, and so I was working at the cottage and building a bridge for a ditch, and all of a sudden I felt my bank card in my back pocket, and so I decided to put the bank card and the check in a safe place. But when I checked, anyway, when I looked, the check was gone, and only the bank card was there. And so I took and I looked everywhere. I looked in the truck, tore the truck apart, looked under the bridge, around the bridge, on the road everywhere, and I couldn't find it. And so anyway, so I nothing more I could do, and I've come to the experience. I've had experiences when I quit looking and let it God do whatever he wants or what he has for me. It shows up, but it didn't. So I just went. So Tuesday comes along, and I loaded up the truck and with the unused lumber, and then drove to Winnipeg, which is an hour, and then I drove to Sioux Narrows, which is another 4 hours, and I was pretty tired. So that was Tuesday. So Wednesday, I unloaded the truck and came back to Winnipeg and joined the Zoom. And on Thursday, I drove back to Winnipeg Beach, and apparently they had a big storm there because there was water in the back alley and puddles everywhere. And I should mention that Winnipeg Beach has one paved road, and there's a bylaw that says that everybody who brings in a boat or takes out a boat from the marina has to use this Park Avenue. So there's a lot of traffic on that road. And so I unloaded the truck, and then I parked on the highway where I usually park. And I looked on the side of the road, and there was a little piece of paper there, and it looked funny. It got my attention, and I went over, and sure enough, it was my folded up check sitting there. And not only that, it was totally dry. And I came in and I got emotional, and I started telling Helen about what had happened, and how grateful I was to the Lord, and then I reminded her that I'm God's favorite. Now it's the end of the story.
Yeah. When things like that happen, there is just beyond any kind of rational thinking. The side of the roads are grass, and then they have a ditch. But the fact is, he found this right on top of the grass, unhurt, there's ink on it, absolutely pristine shape. There's been a storm, a wind, and 4 days of traffic, and and there it was. So yeah, we're really, really, really grateful. And what was Maggie say? Were there any more digits? Sorry. Can you read that, Kathy? What is that?
Were there any more digits on that check? Did he add a few zeros?
Ed does all of the assigning of teams and players and that for everywhere in the province. Hundreds of people, and a lot of money goes through, like we're talking thousands of dollars, because the officials are paid through the different schools and universities and stuff. So they're not small checks that he has to deposit. It was quite a miracle, actually, quite a miracle that check would just be sitting there waiting for him to pick it up. So we're very, very grateful to God. I just don't take those little things for granted, and it's certainly not a coincidence. My little testimony is like there are things like this, and I know we're all experiencing them. They're really weird at times, and I want us all to share, when those things happen, let's celebrate together, because they aren't little things and they aren't coincidences. And I just love that they're just hugs, right, from the Lord. He says, don't worry, be happy. We're in this together. And I've had these goofy, translocation things where you get in the car and then all of a sudden you're blocks away and you don't know how you got there. But I had a couple of incidents in the last couple of weeks, and I hadn't shared them, but when Ed shared his story, I thought, no, this is worth sharing. What we've been coming back and forth from cottages and back home to do this evening, and so I'll do a lot from my kitchen table because my office looks like it exploded and it's not very peaceful in there. So I'll come and I'll work at the kitchen table. And one day I was working here and I thought, oh golly, I need a pen. And so I just got up from my computer and walked up into my office. And as I walked into the door, I looked at my hand and the pen was already there. And I went, that is weird. That is, I don't even know what that is. That's definitely a phasing dimension of some kind of thing. But it didn't just happen once. The next time the same thing happened, I got up to go in, and when I walked into the office, the pen was in my hand, in my left hand, and so I don't know why these things are happening. There's certainly dimensional happenings. It's something coming out of one place. It doesn't make sense in the natural. But I just want to say I really appreciate what God is doing with us in these little things. And they may not be the moving the mountains, but it's certainly encouraging, very, very encouraging. So tonight, two things. Tomorrow, Kim and I are getting together, and we will have things finalized for dates, and that will be letting you know more information on the What If Chronicles that we are doing in the fall. We're not calling the sessions teachings or lessons because we don't feel they are. We're going to just call them challenges, because I think we're going to be as challenged as all of us in this process. So we're looking forward to that. And so more information will come on both websites, on the River 474 as well as Kim Whitman Ministries. But I'll make sure that you guys have a personal note. I'm sending something else out to you as well in the next few days. So you can expect an email, and it'll be on the river. And also, Linda said, I think last year we weren't meeting in June or July. This year, this will be our last river meeting in June, and Ed and I are going to take July and to the second week of August off. We just, to call it a sabbatical probably be wrong, because this is probably one of the busiest times of our life socially at the cottage. We have Christmas in July. We have a big boys have fish club, a lot of social things happening. But the lovely part is that the rest of the time is pulling away. And I have some questions. What can I say? I have some what if questions that I would really like to talk to the Lord about, and I'll share them with you guys. I'm sure. So our next meeting will be August 16th. That's the Wednesday. That's the when we come back. I was going to take August off too, but I think I miss you too much, so we can't do that. And I wanted to have some time together, before we go into the next opportunity that we'll have. Now, this might be a little bit I don't want to start with an apology, but I don't want anyone to be offended or super sensitive to what I want to share, because I've had many people question what happened with Chris Carter. So many people prayed with intentions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there just seems to be this thing that's hanging in the air, right? And I want you to know that's okay to have questions like that. We need to, there's a time of mourning for the Carter family, and we're all in that. But some of the questions that came as well, it's like God didn't hear our or well, I just don't think maybe that the intention model works. And I'm going, wow, that's really they're great comments, and they really are good questions. And then we get the ones that say, well, Nancy and Shannon and people that we know, friends that we know, well, they prayed, and now we've got this comparison to, somebody's up here and we're somewhere else, and I'm going, no. And it's so important that in these times where we've got more questions than answers, like why it's like, why do good things happen or bad things happen to good people? It's still the old questions. And I really want to encourage us today. I really want to encourage us, because we are on a path of learning and a path of understanding that we haven't been on before. And if we look at the last few years of our journey together, we've hit some pretty interesting subjects, and we've learned some very interesting things along the way. And one of them, for instance, is the ascension model, right? Of Jacob's ladder, and we learned processes to ascension, and then we found there's more to it, and things changed. Ascension still go, but we change in the process. In the courts of heaven, we learned about how that operates, how how repentance truly matters, and how when we deal with things in our life, things change. We learned that. We didn't stay in these models or modalities and because they're not God, but they are very, very important things to learn and critical things to learn, because they're part of us, part of our growth, part of our being. So I want to encourage us all about intention. And the model for me of an intention is getting more and more and more real, because I'm realizing that I personally have been calling it a modality of prayer. My shift is that I believe we need to understand that intention is not just a modality of prayer, that it's a person, it's God himself, it's the source, it is our creator, it is Father, because in the beginning, when everything was created, here's the thing, everything was created. The end, everything. So everything that we could possibly need or want exists, but we haven't seen everything yet, right? Because it was created by an infinite with infinite, unlimited possibilities. So what we're learning is how to relate to the ultimate intention, who is our source, to walk into that, and then to live out of that, to live out of the future, to live out of the answer and into where we are. We learned, I'm going to look at we learned that the key to creating an intention is to be able to mirror the power that is called intention. See, we can't intend. Tonight, we're going to intend for Lorraine after the meeting. If you missed the chat, for those who would like to stay on, we're going to have a little time of agreeing with Lorraine. She had an accident. She fell, and her L1 vertebrae is affected. She's in pain. We're going to agree with her for total restoration, because that's her portion. Because that we're going to position that way. Where do you position? We're going to position ourselves in the very, very being, our God, our source, our creator, that created her in the first place, fearfully and wonderfully made. Okay, I just want to now try to imagine a force that isn't just out there somewhere, but it's in us too. So so God, who is the intention of everything that's already been created, is in us. He says, that was Jesus' prayer, right? Father, that they be in you, that they be in us like we're in them. That is it. That is what we have to get into our head, is that we're never separated from the intention. And the intent, the doxa, is God's glory. It's in us. It's in us. He linked himself to us. He embedded himself within us, as we saw in the God Code. And so intrinsically, that even when we separate from him, he never does. He never does, and he never did. Even if we turn our back or we lose the plot, he never does. And he's always, always in us. And we can look at intention, not just a modality of prayer, but an attribute of God that works in us. He doesn't separate us. So when we set an intention that is in line and it mirrors who God is, that is our privilege. And it's not just prayer, but it's an attribute of God that works in us. Intention is something that powerfully joins us to our Creator, to Christ consciousness, to the entire field of existence. There is nothing missing, nothing lacking, and we are already one with it. So regardless of our intention, we're already one with it. The source of all is not out there, it's in us. The field of intention is the very energy and frequency that is you, that is me. And we are never separated. I'm going to say it over, we're never ever separated. So when we speak of intent, it must match the field of consciousness. It must match the mind of Christ, in whom things already exist. And when it happens, we create. So, in saying this, okay, intention is God, and God is the energy of all possibilities. Intention is the creative place of God in us, and it's the place of mysteries, the unseen, and where everything is possible. And some of us might have to realign at times. Hey, all of us may have to. I realign so often that when we're disconnected, that the intent, and we have to realize the intention modality is not a magic bullet. It's a relationship that we enter into for a purpose, to go to the answer and bring it into existence. What it's not is not just waving a magic wand and thinking, oh, we've got this new thing, and whatever we want, because it's a good idea, we think it's a God idea. But to truly intend for one another, we have to learn that we can't give away what we don't have within ourselves. Like, we can't intend for prosperity in our life or for someone else's if we have a poverty mentality. We have to mirror the unlimited supply of God that he's already created, waiting for us to make a withdrawal and to create with him and bring it into being. We cannot intend for something we don't have. Am I making sense? We already have it. We can't intend for wisdom if we don't believe that wisdom is in us. Because when you realize wisdom is in us, there at the beginning of creation in us, I'm not going to do the study, but we know that, then we have to mirror the truth of that in ourselves. And when we do, we mirror who God, our creator, is. We can't intend for love and peace if our own being isn't completely surrendered to love and peace in ourselves and in our own life. We need to understand that we have to put the first thing first, and the first thing first is for us to be connected with the author and finisher of our faith, the author and finisher of every intention. When we set the peace initiative, we gave out of that, of ourself, we set in purpose that one thing. If you look at your life and you say, I'm embodying absolute peace, unconditional love, then we will mirror God's plan and purpose and positioning for the world. But we still go, why isn't there more peace? There's not more peace because we aren't looking at ourselves. And I don't mean navel gazing. I don't mean digging up old scars and battles and beating ourselves up. I don't mean fasting and praying until we do whatever. I mean understanding the reality of every day of our life, to understand that we are to be in that place of love and peace, because that's what mirrors him. So when we intend for healing, if we can see and feel and believe that sickness or disease is something with power, I'm going to say that again. We can't intend for healing if we see, feel, and believe that sickness or disease has some power. It does not have power. Does it exist? Yes. It has no power because it was taken on the cross. All sin, all sickness, all disability, all guilt, all shame was taken. But because when we give thought and power to it, is when we give it thought by our thinking, right? When we compare it, we have to be able to come into a state of perfect peace in God, because he says, I will keep him, I will keep you, I will keep everyone in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on me, because he trusts in him. We trust, therefore. He keeps us in perfect peace. Some of our disconnect is from old patterns, sloppy, careless talk. I'm going to share a sloppy, careless thought moment with you tonight. We can't afford that anymore. I'll just say it. We can't afford sloppy, careless talk. Even when we cover it by saying, oh, well, God knows what I mean. Yeah, he does. Do you know what you mean? Because we got it. For me, I remember years ago, a friend of mine was speaking at something we were at, and she said, I want to live my life like I have this talking balloon, like in comics, you see someone's talking, you've got this balloon with the words all in the thing. She says, I want to live my life so that if I had a talking balloon, everybody could see what I'm thinking and feeling, that I would be pleasing to God. And that stuck with me because, and even now more than ever, because I'm loving this journey. I'm loving the possibilities. I'm loving the things that are happening. I'm loving the testimonies, and to be doing it with a group of people that feel the same way. I think I'm really over the moon, or really over the moon. And some of our old patterns, it could be our ego. What do you think? Because our ego keeps our focus on what we have, what we do, our reputations. It separates ourselves from God all the time. And we think of ourselves more than we think of others. So when I listened to all the questions about how come this didn't happen when we intended that it would, we intended that Chris Carter would be healed, and it didn't happen. We continually need to let our inspiration from our heart be what guides our thoughts, feelings, and emotion. And many times, many of us have had our prayers, our intentions tested. This is what I heard. I prayed so hard. I spent a lot of time. I fasted. And this is a tough statement. Well, why does our mind go to the place of what we did? What we did in it? I have to check my heart on this all the time. We're learning, and this our river group, like in our last book club with Wayne Dyer's book on Wishes Fulfilled, where I loved where he talked about the ego. Ego, he said, is edging God out. When our ego is in play, we measure what is happening by holding onto what we did, who we are, how much we did, and comparing ourselves with other people. So when we do that, then we put the I in the statement, right? I don't know why this happened. I did this. I'd like to say we need to learn, especially in this understanding of what his intention is, to join with him, not with the I. And that's why we need to learn, when we set an intention together in agreement, we set it in agreement with God. We set it there, and I is taken out of this. It's not what you do. It's not what I do. it's, this is feeling really, really strong. And I know it has to be, but if you find yourself giving up on something that didn't work, ask Father what you can learn from it. Did I miss something? Do I need a course correction? You can ask, why did it happen? And you know what? He will tell you. He really, really will tell you. And I know we're learning, we have to mirror him. That's all the answer that I really want to know, because I want to say, okay, how do I do that? How do I set my heart so intently, so on behalf of other people, on behalf of myself? How do I do this? When something like this happens, it can propel us to quit and say, well, this doesn't work. Or it can reset our heart frequency to a channel that doesn't have static. There is a reason. I get excited about it because I know that if I keep my heart soft, I'm going to learn something. And if the learning is for later, I'm confident that I'll learn because Holy Spirit's my teacher and he will teach me things to come. And I can rest knowing that regardless of my opinion, my fasting, my prayer, my bawling and squalling and squawking, that he remains faithful and true. Because he knows me inside out. He knows my heart. And my heart is to love. He knows what has to change in me to become his image fully on this earth. That is my goal. So I want to tell you a little testimony. It's all in line with this. I was standing at the sink. I had a glass in my hand. I broke the glass, knocked on, and the next thing I did was I swore. Thought, where did that come from? And immediately I said, oh, please forgive me, Father, forgive me. Like that was my reaction to my language. Broke the glass, said something nasty. And immediately though, I said, please forgive me. Quiet. No, nothing. He didn't say anything. I tried again. I said, Father, I'm sorry. I should not have sworn. I took responsibility, but I'm really feeling bad. Didn't say anything. I went, okay, I know when to shut up. And when I did, I just stood there and he spoke, and he spoke really loudly. And he said, you need to give forgiveness to yourself. And I went, okay, like, huh? I need to give forgiveness to myself. And then as I stood there, he started unpacking that. And only in the silence, when I'm quiet, he said, I'm in you and you're in me. When you operate in love, forgiveness is easy. You will operate from your highest self in me, in you. He was asking me to realize that I have a higher self that I can ascend into, and that is where we meet. Your higher self is God in you, Christ in you, the hope of glory. That is your higher self. Does it get higher? Do you get higher than Christ in you, the hope of glory? He's in you. He said, I wanted you to go there. From that position, I want you to forgive you. And I realized, and I said, okay. He said, I can't forgive you. I've done it all. I have done it all. I have forgiven every sin in the world. And you're asking me to forgive you for swearing. You have to take your position in me and you have to forgive you. So I started calling myself Helen. I don't know what else I would be, but I saw it, and I went into that. And as I stood there in the silence and I realized I'm in him, he's in me, he's not reprimanding me for swearing. He's saying, Helen, you deal with it. Now you forgive you. Stand in that. Don't ask me to forgive what I've already forgiven. What do you expect me to do? I heard that. What do you expect me to do? He said, so I forgave Helen. It's like not schizophrenia, but I stood there and said, Helen, I forgive you. My higher self in him said, Helen, I forgive you. And then I reminded myself, Helen, you are forgiven. And when I forgave me, something lifted. I have not felt that lifting like I did then. It was a brand new understanding, and I instantly became different. Do you know how I know? Because every time I stand at the sink, that lesson comes up and reinforces in me. And I went, thank you. Thank you. A broken glass is not a death. There are times where we just don't have answers. But I'll tell you what we do when we set an intention. We set the intention in agreement. And we knew we were setting it in agreement with Chris Carter and his family. But what do you do in intention? Once we have done it, we release it, don't we? We release it. And it goes to the only person that can fulfill the mandate. It goes to God. And then he does what he needs to do. Sometimes the very most difficult thing to hear after you've given him your heart and your intention and your desire and everything is to hear it's his time to come. It's his time. It's an important lesson because I have a personal testimony to that. When my daughter Sue became ill, very similar to what happened with Christopher, the Lord said to me, it's her time. And I didn't like that. I was not happy with that, especially in the light of every prayer group I knew was praying. There were masses being said. There was provincial prayer. There was the prophetic group. I had people coming to me and saying things like, which made me really crazy, because you are so faithful, he's going to heal your daughter. I mean, I had everything thrown at me. But I had a word from Father in the middle of it, and I couldn't argue with people. I couldn't say that might be, but because this was between Father and me, he said, it's her time. And I said, please, I need help. And he gave me Isaiah 57, verse 1. Good people pass away. The godly often die before their time, but no one seems to care or wonder why. No one seems to understand that God is protecting them from the evil to come. For those who follow godly paths will rest in peace when they die. Those are really tough times. What I am saying in the middle of it is, when we release, you see, death isn't the end. Death is just part of our life. We come from nowhere, we go nowhere. No, that's the wrong way to put it. We come from eternity, we go into eternity. I don't know how to say it. All I can say is we don't die. Because we come and we live and we leave and we live. Chris left because that is what Father said. That was his time, and he went. And I really, really want to encourage us not to give up on anything that we're learning. The fact that we can set our hearts of knowing. I would rather set my heart and desires high. But what I'm learning in this as well is when he really, really wants us to do in this intention time of learning is to learn how to live in the intention as though it was happening to us, as though it was our reality, regardless of what it is, regardless of it. We together are not separated. So if you are sick, I am. If you are poor, I am. If you lack wisdom, I do. But you see, I refuse that because if there's a lack, I want to bring you up to what I know. I want to bring you up into health. I want to bring you up into wisdom and not have any kind of separation and not ever say that somebody is less than another or judge, well, they got sick because boom, boom, boom. Or of course, they're just, dumb as a bag of hammers. Come on. No, we need to be together because if we're saying that about somebody else, we're saying it about ourselves. And we have such a great opportunity now to press in more and more and more together and more seriously as an individual in our individual lives, because it's going to affect the whole. And everything we do, everything we say, everything we do, every prayer we pray, every intention we do doesn't just affect the few, it affects the many. We live in a global community. We remember when we were doing our global intention, first thing we did is we took the hand of the one next to us, we circled the globe, because there is no I in it. There is the we in him. And Margie, bless her soul, she sent me a note today that I'm really grateful for, actually. And she shared it's called oponopono. Oponopono. Okay. Gina, say it. It's no.
Ho'oponopono.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
It's awesome.
It's really, really a sweet concept. It's actually a Hawaiian spiritual practice that was developed as a family healing practice. And it's a practice that helps individuals and families to forgive past wrongs, conflicts, misunderstandings, and the likes. And it teaches that difficulties are manifestations of past wrong as memories, and those memories influence our lives. By promoting the idea that I'm reading from one of the Hawaiian things, by promoting the idea that blame only compounds a problem, it proves a method of accepting responsibility to everything in one's reality, physical, mental, or spiritual, and accepting the responsibility for everything, even others' actions or thoughts. Isn't that lovely? It shifts the outlook of the practitioner to a place of strength as opposed to helplessness over external conditions, putting him in a position to affect real change. Here's what that means. When we look at what needs to be done in ourselves, we realize that this is a group effort as well, that we aren't alone in it, that when we see something in each other, when we see something in ourselves, when we deal with it, we actually affect change. And in this, in this spiritual activity, or what did I call it here? Oh, it just says spiritual practice, but it's a prayer, it's a meditation. It's a really, really sweet, it's a meditation. I actually often will do this. I haven't done it as much lately, but I have done it in the past. It's a centering exercise for me. And you can go, I like Paul Bobin, Paul Babin. He does this ho'oponopono exercise in a meditation. And it's very, very soothing. It's very, very peaceful. And it's a guided meditation. And I think it's about 15 minutes. But what it does is it settles and centers you, me, in a place where all the things that I was talking about now, if there's any areas that you feel and I can identify with, like needing to go to your higher self. I mean, breaking a glass and swearing doesn't sound like the end of the world, but for a minute there, I really felt it. And it's really, if you felt any of that, and you can feel God saying, go to your higher self in it and forgive you. This is what this is about. This is about coming top down, not pushing up and not examining and not, it's just the receiving. And there's 4 steps in this. 1, you identify any problem or conflict that's been brought to our attention. So if you're feeling insecure about anything, if you've broken a glass and sworn, if you anything at all, anything that pops into your head, and if the problem has to do with someone else, release the automatic thought that it's the other person's problem and it has nothing to do with you. If something's bothering you, it's the other person. It does matter to you. It does have something to do with you. Just identify that and don't put it over somewhere else. It is your problem. Take full responsibility for the problem or conflict or whatever it is that's messing with you, with your reality of living in peace. Like Greg and Crystal have to it's very funny. I miss that when I don't see the screens.
I was taking responsibility for Sharon Crystal's shortcomings, so.
A good man, good man. You take full responsibility. Go, Greg, I love it. Assume that everything in your world is a product of past thoughts and deeds, and we know, right? And memories that are attached to those deeds, bringing the resulting, or that bring the resulting problem. So whatever the problem's been, it's because that it's a product of our thoughts have created our lives. Our thoughts have created, look around you. You're there because it started with a thought first. And when we take a responsibility for anything in our past, thoughts, emotions, words, deeds, actions, everything, then we can see how that there is also a process to correct it. And the process is really, really easy. It is like God said, go to my higher self and forgive me. In this spiritual Hawaiian practice, they use a 4-part prayer to ask for forgiveness. So whatever it is, they will use these four phrases. They will say, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And thank you. That's as simple as it gets. And the premise is in this practice that these 4 attitudes create a cleansing. And you know, it's my it's my broken glass story. That's exactly what happened when I went to that place, and I loved myself enough to do it, and I asked for forgiveness and gave forgiveness to myself, saying I'm sorry and receiving it. That actually brought a cleansing, brought a lifting. The fourth part of that is to trust that the changes have occurred on a divine level, and that any corrections made within are corrected for all that's involved. So if there's anything in the situation where you may have I won't put any words into to somebody else. If you have a situation that you feel that you need to forgive yourself, to love yourself, and to ask for that forgiveness, then know that you are connected, and that these things that whatever they are inside you, that those changes will be made, and they'll be made at a divine level, and it'll be corrected by your actions tonight for all involved. Is this clear as mud, or is it like just say just a minute, everything's okay? All right. So what I'd like to do tonight is to go into the silence. I was going to do it as a guided meditation, but I think going into the silence is really the most powerful. Think of a time that you may have broken a glass and sworn, or that you lived out of your ego and then complained that something didn't happen, or that you blamed God where it was your responsibility. And position yourself. Oh, there might be, okay, I'm going to give you another one. There might be a time what unforgiveness is one of the keys, but there also, you may have judged something that you would like to have lived. We're going to position ourselves in your highest self. That means that we're going to go into the silence and just see yourself in Christ, clothed, put on the garment of light that is him. You are there with the Father. They are in you. You are in them. You position yourself there, and you're going to look at your situation from that place into you. And you bring your consciousness into the reality that is it. That's the position. You're in God, God's in you. When you do that, when you can see yourself first, okay, and then see the situation, and remember it as clearly as you can, see it from above, and then take responsibility and simply let the words, I love you, speak love into yourself. Say, I am sorry. Please forgive me. But I would change that, please forgive me, to you are forgiven. Tell yourself you are forgiven. And then thank you. Just end with gratitude. Okay, so let's just go into that silence right now. And in the tradition of the oponopono, see whatever it is, own it, take responsibility, and that the words come. I love you. I'm sorry. I forgive you. Thank you. Okay. All right. Okay. Just going to read something here that I wrote. Every intention of God indwells Christ. Because we indwell Christ, every intention of God indwells you. Okay. All right. You're allowed to tell me, okay, Helen, you're a little tough on us tonight. Could you be a little cheerier? Everyone okay?
I don't think you were tough.
Okay.
I think it was beautifully loving, because there's truth there, and sometimes truth is challenging, but so it's challenging. What else is new? There's lots of challenging things. Love is challenging.
Mhm.
Beauty is challenging. But love, truth, and beauty, oh my goodness, if we don't have those things, we have nothing. Those are the characteristics of our higher selves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the characteristics of God that make it all worth it, right?
Mhm.
It's the characteristics of our I amness. So bring it on. I mean, if we can't do this, my goodness,
Mhm.
right? And the Ho'oponopono is so beautiful because it encompasses not just your own stuff, but the stuff that you have projected upon people,
Yeah, that's right.
the stuff you have preconceived in your own brain that is not necessarily truth and love and beauty.
Mhm.
And it doesn't, it's so powerfully gentle, the Ho'oponopono, I've found.
Yeah.
Because it's never judging. It always brings to resolution in this beautiful, sacred gentleness, and it's Holy Spirit. You know, it's quite beautiful, and it gets you reminding you of who you are and who you really want to be, right?
Yeah.
How you are to other people and how you want them to perceive you. And that comes with responsibility. That comes with love, no matter what. That comes with truth, no matter what. That comes with beauty, no matter what. So no, I don't think you were hard on us at all. I think it was beautiful. And what an amazing thing to leave us with for these next 6 weeks, coming into the new What If Chronicles. Oh, wow. I feel like I just had, like, big enema or something. you know, clean it all out. Okay, a cleanse. Okay.
You're the best, Gina.
I need some inner healing now.
You're the best. Well, that's why Margie has her hand up. She's going to put it all together.
And that was perfect. That's exactly how I felt, but I wouldn't have just said that. So thank you, Gina.
Well, you can always count on me to say whatever everybody else is thinking.
That was good. I just really, I loved that, because a lot of what, just how you even started off and everything, and then how we ended it was necessary, because God is really calling us to maturity, and it just will not come without discomfort. Like, there's just no way around it, right? And so every time that we sit with him, and like even with the intention stuff, like if it's not happening the way that we desire, then like you said, we have to ask him, what is it we really believe and what is really going on? And then ultimately there's God, like it's still, we still don't get to yet, but let's just say yet, because we're not walking in our I amness to the extent that we will, right? And that's what the goal is. So even just in doing that for me, and I had done one of these today at a meditation, so it was good, because I had dealt with some things personally that I needed to forgive myself for. And in doing it again, it was like God was saying, well, what about me? And for me, a lot of times, when I don't understand something with God, it's him that I kind of blame. or him that I need to, bring before him and just let it out. And this really helped me do that, because it starts out with, I love you, I'm sorry, and then please forgive me. And in my thing right now, it was for blaming you, right? And then thank you, right? So there is only reconciliation that can come from this. And I would imagine that this would disarm almost any situation. Like I've only just learned of this today, but I am going to use this a lot, because if I think about with couples and things, like if we could get them both to just sit in that place where they're owning their own stuff and they're taking the blame even for what they think the other person's guilty of, it's over, right? So
Yeah.
it is the perfect scenario.
Yeah.
And unity is what we're after, that unification of the oneness and who we are and what God is asking us to do. We are going to get there. And he keeps on giving us a new tool on top of a new tool on top of a new tool. Like there's nothing that we can utilize that's not going to bring us to the I amness.
Exactly.
That's all I have to say.
I agree with you, Margie, and I always love when we get a chance to chat, which isn't enough, about the practicalities too of our journey, right? And you're right. Imagine helping people. It is such a simple way. Forgive yourself, love God, and there it is. So
And stop blaming. Own part of it. Like, but because we're one, I'm going to own even your part,
yes,
and then I'm going to forgive you for it.
yeah.
Interesting.
And imagine the unity in that, like the exponential power in that unity.
Yes.
Now,
that is love.
yeah. And it's totally without judgment, because really and truly what happens is we see ourselves in each other, and we realize it's only in that togetherness that we are totally healed. As long as I think that I am better than anyone else or look down on, that healing won't come. But when we can link hands, link arms, and be that loving forgiveness and recognizing that, then everything will happen. I think it's happening, actually.
I do too.
Yeah. So if you are, I did mention it, but the Ho'oponopono guided YouTube that I use is the Paul Boban, PaulBabin. All you have to do is write that into your whatever, it's just a very, I just like his voice, very gracious, and you might like it. And of course, you don't.
Is it BABIN or BAB?
No, B as in Bob.
B. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Of course, you really don't need it. Just positioning yourself like you did tonight in the silence and using those phrases, taking the responsibility is perfect. Is perfect. Okay, Linda. Hi. Did you leave us? No, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. So I feel like that I was set up for this, and it may even be part of the interpretation of the dream I had of our telephone visit. So being at the baseball field, I have a big heart for family, and I have Papa's heart, as we all do. And I saw the grandfathers at the ball field, interacting and connecting with their grandsons. And I sat there contemplating, I walked away contemplating, well, Father, I've never thought about it, but the choices I made for marriage, I had 2 marriages that failed. The choices that I made with the men, they didn't know how to love, and I won't go there, but they weren't fathers. They didn't want to be fathers. They didn't want to father my children. So therefore, I have children that weren't fathered. And my heart was just so sad. I thought, Father, I've never thought about that before. I know you're the ultimate father, and I prayed, I've released that to my children. And I was like, where is this all coming from? So tonight I went into that place immediately, and I feel so much freedom. And oh man, I just thank you, Helen, because you were his answer to prayer, the cry of my heart. And I have freedom now because I forgave myself and reconciled with myself and with Papa. Thought I had already done that, how many times, or in how many different ways, but it's closure now. So I can move forward and actually see these grandfathers in a whole different light. And so anyway, that's all I'll say about it, but thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you. And I will continue this journey because I think it's a simplistic, I like simple things that I can just stop in my tracks where I am, like you did at the sink. I can just stop where I am and take care of it. So thank you so much.
Linda, that's awesome. I love, and for those of you who weren't in the chat, Linda just continued with her dream, right, Linda? Because it was a lucid dream. To the
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We're an odd bunch. We speak about dreams and visions and dimensional things as though it's all happening in 3D too. So I love that. I love the fact that the dream was actually came into your reality. That's so good. So good. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Cindy Lou.
Yes, hello. I want to thank you for telling us the truth. That's fantastic. Like, where can we go where they don't tickle our ears and, tell us pretty stories or stories that don't even matter? So I appreciate your forthrightness and just straight up. So I just want to thank you for that. And the other thing I want to say, I have studied heaven my whole Christian life, like every book that comes out, and some of them are fantastic and some of them are good. And anyways, and when I lost my husband 18 years ago, I was devastated, of course, but he's the lucky one. He's out of here. He has no sickness, no disease, no sadness, no tears, nada. And he's the lucky one. And I wonder why us Christians think that here is better and healed. Heaven is healed completely in every unimaginable way. And so I'm curious why we Christians have that thing, that healing has to be here, because healing ultimately is the other dimension. Hopefully we'll get there too here, but not all.
Yeah, I think that's I hear your heart. I hear your heart, and I love the fact that you put death in perspective. That it's a beautiful thing. It's a life thing. I'm challenged by the phrase that he wants heaven on earth. Like Jesus did not come to earth to take us to heaven. He came to get heaven into us so that we would fulfill what the earth lacked, because that's why he came, right? To take away the sin of the world so that we could live in that victory and be an example of that victory. So for me, we should not be walking in any kind of sickness, dis-ease, anything. And not only that, but that's our reality, and giving it away, right? Because that's what he modeled for us. He completely modeled that. Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up, Cindy Lou, because one of the things that I really believe is that as people that in Christ consciousness and in faith, when we get a handle on the fact that death isn't the final chapter, that death is a beginning, and have no fear of death, actually, can say, death, where is your sting? That when we get a handle on that, and death has no hold in us, can we truly live freely? I mean, it's a real paradox, but it's worth, maybe that's a what if program challenge. No, but really, if we can understand that there is no sting, and that it's a part of our journey, that we would live very, very differently, really.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with you totally. I think we should be totally healed here. I agree with that 100%. However, anyways, the other thing I am curious about, what if, so David was my husband's name. And a few months back, I had a situation where I'm pretty sure it was a con artist that was trying to develop a relationship with me. And I was like, I don't know, I just felt off. And I said, David, would you show me if this guy's real or not real? Because he said he knew my family, and I don't, anyways. And so that night, I'd already blocked the guy, but that night I had a dream, and David rescued me from a con artist in the dream. And so I wonder how much more David, Chris can do as a glorified being for us on earth. And I'm asking the question, I don't know the answer, but I think there's way more going on with the cloud of witnesses than we had much knowing about.
Yeah.
So that's all.
I'm 100% with you on that. And I think it's worth the exploration, Cindy Lou. I really do. I have had an awareness of many times that, that we're surrounded, and with different people that have I was going to say transfigured, but that have gone on. But I've only had one encounter where I've actually seen them like a movie, and in that time I saw the purpose they were there. I saw that in particular one person that they were there for support and for family support. It was at a funeral, and so there is more. There's more. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Kathy Washman.
Hey, I just wanted to read a few of the comments. Let me go back up here. Joan just wanted to say thank you, dear Helen. Really good, very helpful. And Maggie writes, and which she can add extra to if she wants, but she said so much in tonight's message that is consoling on so many different levels, bringing music to the notes in my heart. As always, you've taken from your experience, understood it, and then taught us how to do it. You are truly inspirational, Helen. Heart. And also Susan Sanoski writes, thank you, Helen. This was such a blessing. Just a perfect word at exactly the right time. We are having some real upheaval in our family right now. And so the oponopono refresher was what I needed. Bless you for hearing Papa and acting on it. And Margie had to go, and love always to you.
Thank you.
And I just actually, yeah, there was also a question or a wondering that Tess had. And it's quite a ways back when you were speaking about intention. And I wanted to read it out. I didn't want to interrupt you earlier, but let's see if I can find it. Oh, yes. I wonder if we should also be asking what our intention should be, even when we know truths, such as it's God's intention for life. And she just remarks that that's a question she's seeking the Father about. I'm curious to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on both sides of that. Asking. Often with our God Squad, that is, we just have a very small band. What we will do is either ascend to see what Father's doing, or we will talk it out. We will I know that this isn't taught, but this is what we do. We talk it out to the place where there is nothing in any of us that says, I can't agree with this. Like we build each other up. No, we don't convince each other, but we spend time and we'll talk things through, because we've agreed that if we don't agree, we don't intend, because then there's a disconnect, right? And that that is our agreement, but we've never come to a place where we haven't agreed. We know what Father has done. We know what's been created. We know what Christ did on the cross. We know what the plumb line of Christ's consciousness means. Like, we know those things, but we don't know everything. And we don't know everything that applies to whatever. So whatever the situation is. So we do take time. Personally, like I said during the message, you don't need to get a group together to intend, right? You just come knowing that you can set your desire with Father is enough, completely enough. I think the reality, so we go on there because, and then we intend with confidence, regardless of the outcome. And when you go with confidence, you're going with faith, you're going in Him, and then you let Him provide the ultimate answer. And we are open to correction. We're open to it's very hard, like in the case of Chris, in the case of my daughter, to hear it's time for them to go. Nothing in you, a young person is, or a child. Imagine that you hear Father say, it's that child has lived their life and they're 6. That makes no sense, right? To the goodness and love of God. In our natural human thinking that makes no sense. But in the divine, who sees the end from the beginning, it may make perfect sense, even if we don't understand it. But I will never do an intention in fear or worry or being double-minded. A double-minded person is unstable in all their ways. And so once my heart, I feel the connection into the heart of Father, I just boldly step into that place and release it to him, knowing that he will do what I can't do. I don't know if that helps. Yeah. Be careful that anything we learn doesn't become a formula for you. Learn the protocol more than the formula. Even the Ho'oponopono. It is a principle. It's a beautiful, beautiful principle, but it's not a formula. It's like ascension is not a formula. The courts are not a formula. Nothing's a formula, because we want the ease of function to be relational, and let him. When I stood at the sink and Father didn't talk to me, I went, whoa, because I'm used to dialogue, and I'm used to, like, it's like talking to you. But I learned more in the silence, and I was convicted more in the silence, and I have greater ability because of the silence, and then knowing my higher self. So go into your higher self and take it from there. And when you set an intention, like was done for Chris, we're doing it in love, right? We're doing it in love, and that love won't fail. The love will never fail you. And he'll take you to the next place, and he says, okay, well done. Let's go on to the next one. Keep the dialogue going. Okay. Tess.
So the reason that I wondered that question out loud is because it hadn't been too long before the whole news of Chris, even being sick and whatnot came out. There had already been, not just in this group, but in a couple of other groups that I'm in, I went into the bedside of my sick whatever, and my spirit interfaced with their spirit, right? And I've had moments like that when I was a child with my dad in Vietnam. So my question, what came to me right away as he was declining and all, and I was not, to be honest, involved in the prayers, intentions, whatever you want to call it, not because I was double-minded, but because I didn't have any satisfactory, I don't know if you call it consolation. The engineering mind in me was going, well, has anybody asked Chris what he wants? That's what was going through my mind. The other thing was, when you were relating the story of your daughter, you got a very clear word to prepare you. It didn't matter what anybody else thought. You were the one that needed to be prepared for that. Well, did God speak to any one of the number of advisors or wife or whatever, or Chris himself, and give that same preparation? And if not, why not? Those are the kinds of things that I'm sorry, their consolation doesn't do it for me. It's along the lines of, you're going to tell me, you look through scripture and you see Jesus heals every single time. Now, granted, it was people brought him to him, but it says he healed all who came to him, right? that's either true or it's not. There's no gray area for me. It's either true or it's not. So back in the day, like, you know, back when Benny Hinn and some of those others were real huge, I could not for the life of me understand why a person or a ministry that was healing hundreds of people weekly on a, you know, praise the Lord show or whatever the case may be, wasn't going into the local hospital and raising every single person up off the bed. It made no sense to me. And I did not put any blame or question or doubt in God. My question, my shortcoming, trust, distrust, whatever you, skepticism was on the side of man creating this ministry out of something, but it wasn't serving the public. I'm sorry. Those are things that I'm not satisfied with consolation and church answers.
Right. Okay, Tess, spoken as a true engineer. It's your logic, right? You go, okay, good, you're laughing, or you're crying. No, that looks like laughing. Because you know what I just said.
Yes, but I have been a very, very, very non-engineering side of me when it comes to my spiritual journey.
Yeah.
In fact, everything in my spiritual journey defies the analytical side of me. And I still leap in with both feet.
Yeah.
Because I've had a relationship with the Ancient of Days since early. So for me, there is no question. And it doesn't actually, I said this the other day in a different group. To me, science and spirituality, science is merely man discovering spirituality. I don't see a difference between the two. I just see it as the limited awareness or the limited discovery of everything that God is out there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, no, I understand what you're saying. And yes, because really the all in all is in him. And yeah, you see, when I call it the paralysis of analysis when we get into these situations where we question, not because I believe the questions are wrong. I think all your questions are good. I think all your questions are worth asking Father about, and I know that there are answers for all of them. I know that, and I like the reason I gravitate to the science and to, you know, to the logical thinking or critical thinking has held me in good stead, because I like the questions. What my challenge has been is to look at myself in when I ask the questions. Am I judging something else, or is it a true question that stands by itself? Like when we cannot judge other ministries or why another person, because the fact is there is so much power in us. We all should be walking through the hospitals and vacating. We should have peace on this planet. There should not be wars. All of that is the reality. And what I do to all those questions that I have too, Tess, I have them, is to point at myself, not for the purpose of another analysis of paralysis of myself, but saying, Lord, what is it? What's holding me from doing that? What is holding us from breaking the 4-minute mile here and going boom into wherever it is you want us to be? What is it? And please make it clear to me, like just give it to me at kindergarten level so I can understand it, because I want to act on whatever it is that we're learning. And so I've taken myself out of the place of judging anyone else and why they don't, to putting that onto myself and saying, okay, why isn't it working for me? Because I don't want it. I want to know, I want to walk the walk that, we say, don't judge, don't judge, don't judge. Well, we are to judge because we are intelligent. What we're not called to do is condemn in the judgment. What we're called to do is I set before you life and death. Choose life. You have to make that judgment to choose the right thing. So that, all of these things are part of us growing. And I like it when he's a little tough with me, because I don't want to go around in the same circle one more time. I'm really tired of one more time around Piccadilly Circus and not getting off it. I don't know if I answered, Tess. It's a continuing conversation that we'll probably have for a while. Okay. I like your emoji. Yolande. Where are you?
Okay. I came on late because I didn't get the link until not that long ago. But anyway, regarding what happened with Christopher, I would be awakened night after night after night and put on my heart day after day after day, with Christopher on my heart. Now, whenever that happens, whether it's him or anyone else, the Lord usually, I have either a person or a situation or something else on my heart, and I would ask Father what he wanted me to do about it. And when I get an answer, then I would do whatever he wanted me to do. So he would tell me to go to Christopher's bedside and to breathe Father's breath into him. It wasn't to bring him back to life or anything. It was to help him in his suffering, to make it a bit easier for him to breathe. That was all I was doing, nothing else. Not saying, live or whatever. It was just that. So I stayed with Christopher in that journey. And what happened then, even though the Lord showed me several times him in the coffin, I saw it. Before the announcement was made about his passing, the Lord showed it to me. So I knew what was going to go on. I knew what was coming. But he had me walk it to help him. That was all, right? Now, what happened was, and I did take part in Global Sun's, prayer, even though I knew what was going to go on. I went in and did what everyone else was doing. Soon after that, before that, my brother had passed. And straight after that, Christopher went. So I was in a huge amount of grief, to the point where my whole body went into spasms. I was in a huge amount of pain. I couldn't move. I was in bed for days. My headspace, I couldn't handle anything. It was massive. So Tuesday night, today's Thursday, Tuesday night, I was with some of my friends who facilitate another group. Now, when they knew I was in so much of pain and my whole body was inflamed, etc., I didn't have any prayer. There was no intention. There was no nothing. Although someone wanted to. But I felt, no. The Lord has given us the ability to heal ourselves. I didn't have to go out and ask anyone for prayer or for healing or for anything. Come Wednesday morning, which was yesterday morning, I wake up, no inflammation, pain gone, mind totally clear, and I'm still feeling that way, and I feel good. So there you go.
That's a great testimony. Great testimony. Thank you for sharing. And I'm glad you're back. Awesome. Awesome.
Thanks, Helen.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you all for coming on tonight. Really, really appreciate it. I don't want to interrupt if anyone has anything to say. But I appreciate and love every single one of you. We are now, I'm just going to ask if anyone, I don't see, Lorraine, you're still there. We're going to close tonight. And we will see you back on the 16th, if you're able to be in August. And I will make sure I send to this list updates so that you can have any information that's going on heading into fall. And looking forward to, I don't even want to say looking forward to the fall. I want to look forward to this long weekend. Anyway, just so I am looking forward. I just feel that Father's taking us into places that we are ready to go. We are just ready to go, and it's lovely. So if you can stay on, you're welcome. And if not, I'm going to meet Lorraine. Ed and I will meet Lorraine and whoever can to pray with her about her back. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you, be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you, grant you his shalom. Nothing missing, nothing broken. And I love you. From my toes to the cosmos. We'll see you in August. And you know what? I still have an email. I have a phone number. And I don't mind using either. If you need anything or want to share anything, I'm with you.